In this lesson, we'll talk about tropisms. Now, we often think of plants as boring, stationary objects, but plants do move. They respond to environmental factors just like other organisms do. It just isn't as obvious. These movements, which are really plant growth, in response to stimulus, are called tropisms. Three major tropisms are phototropism, gravitropism, and nastic response. So let's check those out. Photo meaning light. So phototropism is a response to light. Light obviously being very important to the plant, providing the needs for photosynthesis. So, like you see in this picture of plant growing towards the window, plants will grow towards a light source in order to maximize photosynthesis. But how do they do this? It has to do with a chemical signal called auxin, which comes from the Greek word to grow. Auxin is made at the tip of the plant and sends signals down the shoot of the plant, telling cells to grow. Now, if the light hits the plant directly from above, auxin is going to move down all sides of the plant pretty evenly, and the plant will grow straight up. But if light hits the plant from one side, then auxin will diffuse to the other side of the plant. So auxin will diffuse to the darker side. This will cause the darker side to grow faster. We call that the area of elongation because it's growing faster. Because it grows faster, it will bend the whole shoot towards the light. And we call that positive phototropism because the movement of the plant is towards the stimulus, which is the light. Now, here's a simulation of the experiments that helped discover auxin. I'll post this on D2L as well, but let's just check it out now.
When Darwin placed a blindfold on a growing coleoptile, he observed that the plant no longer grew toward the light. This suggested that something in the tip of the coleoptile was responsible for this directed growth. Other experiments demonstrated that even when the tip is removed and a layer of agar placed between the tip and the base, the plant still grows toward the light. This suggests that the light-sensitive signal can travel through a permeable barrier, directing the plant's growth. If the severed tip is replaced on the growing shoot so that it covers only half of the exposed cut, the side touching the tip grows faster than the other side, causing the coleoptile to curve, even in the dark. This demonstrates that the signal does not migrate across the shoot. The Dutch botanist Fritz W. Wendt wanted to find out if he could isolate this signal from the coleoptile tips. First, he removed the tips of oat plant coleoptiles. Next, he placed the detached tip onto a block of agar. After 1 hour, he discarded the tip and positioned the agar on decapitated coleoptiles in such a way that the block only covered half the exposed cut. What do you suppose happened when Wendt placed the agar back on the decapitated coleoptile? Click on the coleoptile on the right that represents the likely result of this experiment. When Wendt placed the agar block on one side of the decapitated shoot, the shoot curved away from the agar as it grew. This demonstrated that some kind of hormonal signal had diffused into the agar from the coleoptile tips. This hormone had then diffused into the growing coleoptile. The hormone, subsequently called auxin, caused the growing plant to curve, even in the absence of light. Wendt's experiment represented the first time that anyone had isolated a hormone from plants.
On to gravitropism, also called geotropism. Plants also respond to gravity. Now we know gravity points downwards, but the stem's response is to grow upwards. Since the stem's response is to grow in the opposite direction from that stimulus of gravity, we call that negative gravitropism. The roots, however, the roots grow downwards, so the roots grow towards the stimulus. Therefore, we say the roots show positive gravitropism. They grow in the direction of gravity. And why do plants do this? Why do they respond to gravity in this way? Simply because they do it to meet their needs. Roots grow downwards because that's where they'll get the water from the soil. Stems grow upwards because that's where they're seeking the light for photosynthesis. How does this work? So, it's auxin again. Auxin plays the key role in gravitropism just as it does in phototropism. Now, while auxin stimulates growth in the shoot, it will slow growth in the root. So, if a plant is laid on its side, then auxin gathers at the bottom portion of the plant. In the root, then, that bottom portion will grow slower, and this top portion without the auxin will grow faster, thus bending the root or curving the root so it bends towards the soil. In the shoot, however, the auxin on the bottom part of the shoot will cause this to grow faster, thus bending the shoot upwards towards the light. When the root bends towards the ground, we say that's positive gravitropism, and when the shoot bends towards the light, we call that negative gravitropism. Finally, nastic response. This is a response to touch. We won't delve into this for Science 10, but I would encourage you to Google tropism nastic response and to look for two cool examples, the Venus flytrap and the Mimosa pudica. It's just pretty cool to see. Now, as with all biology, it's essential to read the textbook to get the full detail on this topic. This is all covered in section 9.4 of the text, pages 341 to 348. Also, complete the Check Your Understanding questions on page 348, and then check your answers with the solutions I post online. Thanks all.